Now, I know what you're thinking. I know. Obviously, the answer is yes. Of course, Snow White is worse than Human Centipede 3. How could it not be? But how many of you have actually seen one of these movies, let alone both? Because I'd hazard a guess that I may be one of only a handful of people in the entire world who has actually sat through both of these cinematic masterpieces. So, believe it or not, I may in fact be uniquely qualified to actually give a real, genuine, informed opinion on this matter. And the initial plan was to break this into categories like cinematography, music, performances, etc., and to compare the two movies side by side. But as the saying goes, no plan survives first contact with the enemy. And the enemy here was formidable, and I was not prepared for what was in store. But let's just be honest here, I expected Human Centipede 3 to be completely unwatchable. Like one of the worst movies ever made and just unimaginable trash. After all, the first Human Centipede sits at a 4.4 on IMDb, and that's already way lower than what I generally even bother with. But Human Centipede 3 boasts an impressive 2.7. And I mean, I read a couple user reviews to see what I might be in for, and not even the people who liked the first movie like the third one. And that's setting the bar pretty damn low. So yeah, when I came up with the idea for the video, I was not looking forward to watching it. In fact, the idea of spending 3 hours watching both of these movies just seemed like a very bad idea. But I was genuinely curious to see how they would stack up. And I was expecting Snow White to just blow Human Centipede out of the water. However, that's where things got interesting because that's not exactly what happened. And I'm probably more surprised than anyone, because I figured I'd get the real torture out of the way, and started with Human Centipede 3. And I was immediately surprised, because first of all, it doesn't look like absolute garbage. I mean, it's not gonna win any Oscars for cinematography, but it really doesn't look that bad, which was already more than I expected. Now we do get some casual sexual assault within the first few minutes, and some hard R's not much after that. And that was more in line with the sort of garbage I expected. Because let's be real here, these things are not exactly delivered with the finesse and expertise of someone like Tarantino, but are more or less just completely gratuitous edgelord trash. This stuff is in the movie because it's not supposed to be. You're not supposed to do these things, so the director is a naughty little boy and does them anyway. Speaking of the director, by the way, he is in the movie, playing himself as some sort of a meta joke. And he is, and I'm not exaggerating, one of the worst actors I've ever witnessed. He barely even has any lines, and mostly just stands there, but every time the camera cuts to him, his complete lack of acting ability is on full display. I mean it, I've never seen anyone who's so bad at acting that you can't even cut to them just standing there, and they still manage to somehow be bad at it. It's remarkable. Anyway, you know who doesn't suck at acting? Mr. Laser, who plays the warden of the prison where the movie takes place. Like, I wouldn't say he's great, but he could have easily just phoned it in, or just been the worst actor alive. And that's pretty much what I would have expected. But he didn't, he actually puts a lot of effort into the performance. I mean, in every scene he's just going crazy and over the top, and a performance like that takes genuine effort. And he started to sorta win me over because of that. And several times throughout the movie I just found myself smiling and grinning on account of how stupid and ridiculous some of the stuff was, and how silly some of his choices were. But let's not mince words here, it's a stupid movie. Like really stupid. And basically a creatively bankrupt rehash of the first one, with the most bare semblance of a story to keep it all from completely falling apart. But as the credits rolled, I realized that I genuinely didn't hate this movie. It's a bad movie, it really is. and I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. Like, there's no reason to watch it. But I don't hate it. I've seen movies that I've hated way more than this before, and most of them because they're just insanely boring. And they feel like they don't respect your time, and are actively trying to insult you by wasting your time. The Human Centipede 3, though, while completely unnecessary, and not exactly riveting either, in fact, not a whole lot happens in this movie, but it was at least not mind-bogglingly boring to me, and actually sort of entertaining, at least from time to time, which I did not expect at all. And I guess that brings me to the other movie on the chopping block today, the latest iteration of Snow White by the Walt Disney Company, because that one I expected to be at least mildly entertaining and somewhat competently made. And I guess it was, but it was also just sort of boring. Now, let's be honest here, it doesn't deserve a 1.8 on IMDb. That's just ridiculous. And probably the most blatant example of review bombing I've ever seen. But they did make a few missteps with this movie. One of the big ones being allowing Rachel Zegler to open her mouth in interviews. But I'm here to talk about the movie and not the weird things the actors said. Which brings me to the second big blunder they made. Not casting actual little people to play the seven dwarves, but instead opting for these really bad CGI designs. Like, we're talking Uncanny Valley, Polar Express type nightmare fuel here, which I don't understand at all. You're Disney, for God's sake. You have unlimited resources and access to the most talented artists in the world. And somehow this is what you went with. Why? Just why? I don't understand it. Who thought this was a good idea? Who in their right mind would look at this and go, yep, that looks about right? I mean, Jesus, that's just unforgivable. But anyway, all that aside, is the movie actually good? Well, it's not terrible, but I'd actually hesitate to call it good. Like, some of the songs were pretty decent. It looked decent too, for the most part. Rachel Zegler did a fine job as well. But beyond a few good songs, it was just incredibly bland. In fact, I think I pretty much tuned out for a chunk there because I'm not sure what exactly happened with the story, and then suddenly it was just wrapping up. And that's not a good sign, not a good sign at all. But would I say it's an objectively worse movie than Human Centipede 3? No, obviously not. And unlike Human Centipede 3, I could kinda almost recommend this to someone. I don't know who would need to watch this. I mean, just watch the old animated version instead. It's much better. But at least Rachel Zegler isn't throwing hard R's and other slurs at you, which I guess counts for something. But here's the real question, gun to my head. Which of these movies would I rather rewatch if I had to? And I didn't expect this one to be a tough one at all. And I don't know what this says about me, but my gut instinct was to say Human Centipede 3, which is not okay. But what is okay is hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel and commenting below, telling me why this is an insane take and clearly wrong. But yeah, I think that's about it for today, and see you next time.